chapter 14. So he says, where do we learn that we have to be machmir and sfekes? When we have a safek, where do we learn that we have to do this? I mean, it sounds like a good idea. Daniel told us, based on a good idea, a svara, why we should do it this way. But the Ramchal is bringing us rayas, or evidence, from Chazal, from the rabbis. So he brings a Ma'amar Yechezkel, the Navi, Ezekiel. He said that Hine nafshi lo metum'ah. My soul hasn't been contaminated. And the Gemara in Chulin says, I never ate an animal that a question was asked about the animal. So they have, they bring a cow, they shecht, and then there's a question. Is it kosher? Is not kosher? Any cow that there was some sort of a question, the Prophet would not eat. Which means what? It was machmir. If there was any question, won't eat it. Only a cow that there are no questions. And there are cows like that. I had a friend who does shchita, and he says, in America, if you take 100 cows, about 30 of them will be glat. 30 out of 100.
Why is that?
Because of the way that they get sick, they have all sorts of other things going on with them. So he says 30 of them would be glat. And out of the 30 ones that would glat, you get a percentage of about 10, 15 that would be chalak. Like there is no questions whatsoever. They come out beautiful. It's called chalak bet Yosef. Not all the cows. Now there are places in the world, outside of America, that there's a higher rate of glat, or of chalak. There are higher rates. It depends on how they raise them, and what environment, and what kind of food they get, and sorts of other things. Kol ze mutaru min adin vaday. Says that all the cases that the Gemara brings about Yechezkel, there's nothing wrong with the cow. Everything was fine. They just had a question. And the rabbi looked and said, no, it's good, it's kosher, go. Even that he wouldn't. The fact that there was a question asked, it means that there was something maybe potentially wrong. And by potentiality, he wasn't taking chances. Ela de'ihu de'achmir nafshe. He was more machmir. And he says, she'en lilmod mima she'utar al kol Yisrael ha'prushim she'esh lem la'archik. He says, but don't think that this is something that all the Jews have to keep. No, it's only the people who want to go according to the level of separation. It means that they are going on a higher level. If they're going on a higher level, then this is what you should be doing. Okay? He brings in another example of Mar Ukva. Mar Ukva says, he says that with regard to my father, I'm considered vinegar, the son of wine. Right? Which one's better, wine or vinegar? Wine. Why? What's vinegar? Spoiled wine. It's not exactly, but okay, good. So he says to my father, if he ate meat today, he wouldn't eat cheese until the next day. So how long would he hold? 24 hours. He says, but me, no, if I eat in this meal, I won't eat cheese until the next meal. So he held how long?
6 hours.
6 hours, 8 hours, depending. Okay? So he says, my father was on a higher level. My father would eat, if he ate meat, he would hold 24 hours. Does that mean everybody is required to hold 24 hours? So he says here, certainly the halacha isn't like how his father used to live, 24 hours. Right? We all know that it's 6 hours. So he says, but we see that his father was machmir b'frishuto. That his father was a poresh, he withdrew himself, he separated himself, and therefore he held to a higher degree. But Mar Ukva then says, I am challah bar chamra, I am chometz, I am vinegar, son of wine, because my father was in a much higher degree, spiritually. Okay? Now he says, look at minhagim, customs, habits. He says, פרישות במנהגים הוא התבודדות והתבדל מן החברה המדינית. Says the way that in our interpersonal relationships, the prishut, the separation, is to separate yourself from society. Separate yourself from society. Why? Bad company pulls you down. Company pulls you down sometimes. Not even bad company. Why? Because when you are around other people, what do you have to do? You have to speak. You have to have relationships with money, with speech, with all sorts of things. And he says if you create boundaries and you are mitboded, you separate yourself, it doesn't mean always. It doesn't mean every day you sit in a cloister in a locked room that only peanuts are being thrown into, the keyhole. And then you develop an allergy to peanuts and die and nobody knows. It's like a pile of peanuts. So here the Ramchal is trying to tell us that separating ourselves from society allows us to turn our hearts to hidbonenut, of introspection and serving God. Right? The reason we separate, we say, I need some time. I'm going to sit with myself, me and God, and we're going to be mano adi, God and me. And that is very, very powerful. And he says, there's a condition. But don't go so far that you are not connected to human beings. It's to find the balance. You need to separate yourself. But don't be in a way that you're a recluse, because then you're going to be weird. Right? You're going to be weird. Right? I mean, people who isolate themselves, they don't really have social skills. And they're weird. And we have a mitzvah. Do you know that? The Rosh Yeshiva says that people who are Balei Tshuva have 615 mitzvahs. We have the regular 613 plus 2 more. One positive and one negative. The positive is to be normal, and the negative is not to be weird. It's very important. Because sometimes when people return to Hashem, they sort of get a little weird. And so it's very, very important to stay normal and not be weird. So he says, he brings a Gemara in Ketubot, Le'olam teh da'ato shel adam me'orevet im habriot. That a person should be me'orav, mixed with people, so that his opinion, and he hears what other people think, and also he says that a person should learn Torah with people, not learn only by yourself. Take time in the day, say I take 30 minutes, just me and Hashem, to sit and think, just go through things. The way that cults work is when you are trying to get into a cult, when you sort of, start, they put minders next to you. That is, they never leave you alone. They don't give you time to think. Because you need to process, you need time to think and process what you're learning. And they don't leave you alone. They always have somebody talking to you all the time. You go to the bathroom, somebody talking. You eat, somebody talking to you. So you never have time alone to go, what? So by the end, like everybody's like you, and everybody's like, oh, well, I'm in. It's very important to think about it, to take time, to, spend some time with yourself, and to evaluate. So some of you say, wait, isn't that yeshiva? Like, we learn all day and then we go from this cover to that cover. Not at all. The whole point is you need to find time to think. Nobody came to your room and when you were napping and whispered in your ear, Hashem loves you. Hashem loves you. But the idea is that we all need time to process, to think, to evaluate. Judaism is not a cult. So we will continue, Be'ezrat Hashem, tomorrow, chapter 14.